I welcome Dr. Sajida Bashir, who's been an advisor formerly with the World Bank with the Global Director of Education Practice. Sajida comes with immense experience of the education field, of the laboring poor in all of the developing world, if I may say. Long conversations with Sajida over the years. I would say now over 30 years of long conversation has opened up the world of the Asafala, the Asian, African, and Latin American suffering poor and their children. It's kudos to Sajida's spirit that she decided to quit the World Bank on the day that India gained independence, 15th of August. She was free from the work that she's done in her global policy roles, and she thought it was time to come and support the initiatives of the kind that Education Emergency is, and to work directly with children of the laboring poor and dirtier hands with the farms and fields, and that's where her heart really has always been. I now invite Dr. Sajida Bashir. She will be talking about the report, A Future at Stake, but also vignettes of her experience. Without much ado, Dr. Sajida Bashir, welcome to the Education Emergency Forum and the Future at Stake. Comments from you, please.
Thank you so much, Manisha, and thank you also to Shantaji. I was listening to her and really moved by her passion and the images that she evoked about children who are suffering and whose voices are not being heard. So let me explain a little bit about the motivation for this publication. The National Coalition for the Education Emergency, as we then started calling it, held its first meeting in July 2021 when schools were not still open. And I, who had been looking at what had been happening in the world, was struck by the fact that even in Africa, schools had started to reopen in January. Now, of course, we had the second wave and we had to be careful and so on. But our first priority, therefore, was to get schools to open. And then as we saw that state governments were starting to reopen schools, much to our dismay, we saw, as Shantaji said, that very little attention was being focused on what had happened to children, on the suffering they had gone through, on the learning losses they had suffered, which were devastating, on the fact that, they were hungry, that they had lost, parents or relatives in this pandemic. All this was barely being given any consideration. Instead, a few of the guidelines that we saw emphasized health and sanitation measures. For instance, how do you clean the, benches and the desks and so on? Honestly, that took up most of the guidelines, and just a few lines on how to recover from 18 months of school closures. In a few states, or a few cases, state governments announced short duration remedial courses of one size fit all type of course, or teachers were supposed to send notes to students so they could copy them out, ignoring the fact, all that Shantaji said, of where these children were, and we are pretending that by just moving them up 2 grades, assuming they're up at grade level and resuming the textbook-based syllabus and exams, that we will be back to normal. And it was clear to us that this approach would not be a meaningful education recovery for hundreds of millions of children in this country. That is the magnitude of our problem. And as Shantaji said, a lot of research and our own knowledge from the field showed that. Yet, across the world, countries are modifying the curriculum and teaching methods, even in advanced countries, to enable children to re-engage with education, to focus on core competencies, and to provide extra resources and budgets, instructional time and effort to help the disadvantaged. Whereas in India, we are reducing the expenditure on education, and therefore we are going in the wrong direction. Next slide. So this publication was prepared to help state governments to adopt an appropriate approach, but also to help with the social mobilization effort and the public discourse on the recovery from a national calamity. As Shantaji said, the silence, the public silence that has been there on this huge number of Indian citizens is actually quite shocking. And our messages are quite clear. Every child has to be brought back to school, every single one of them. We can't just say that this percentage or that percentage, every single one of them has to come back. And equity in this context means more effort for the disadvantaged, not the same. We need to provide enhanced nutrition. Children are starving, they're famished, and we need, above all, to simplify and enrich the curriculum to focus on 3 areas: socio-emotional development, language, and mathematics. And we need to take a comprehensive approach, not just leave the teachers to fend for themselves. And simplification does not mean dumbing down. It means enriching, but it means giving children the core competencies to be able to deal with the disaster that they have faced. Next slide. So the central message of our report is that focus on these 3 areas: socio-emotional development, language, and mathematics competencies. Socio-emotional development is not a luxury. It is really crucial because, as Shantaji said, children have lost so much. They have suffered personal tragedies. They've had little contact with caring adults outside of their parents. Many have suffered abuse or started working. And let us not think this is just the case in Jharkhand or UP. It's also the case in the southern states, even in the advanced states. We cannot also assume that just being back in school, they will somehow automatically resume how to focus, how to follow instructions, how to complete tasks, how to collaborate, how to regulate emotions. No, these must be taught explicitly, not as a subject, but across every subject. And children need to have the space to do that. The second big area is language. We really argue for allotting substantial amount of instructional time for language instruction in a revised curriculum. And we are talking of several years. We are not saying this is a 3-month or 6-month program. Just imagine, think about the situations that Shantaji described and think of the consequences for language. You need language competencies to cover academic language. Even for those studying in their own native Indian languages, they have lost touch with reading, writing, and even listening and speaking to express their thoughts and in academic areas. A large number of children in low-cost private schools learning in English have suddenly transferred to government schools, probably learning in a different language, it seems. About half the children in many states in government schools are also studying in English medium, a language in which they've had no contact for 2 years. And we expect them to go back and read the textbooks at 2 grades ahead. And think of those images of the migrant children walking back last year, not so long ago, walking back from the metropolises and going back to their home states and presumably studying in some language that they were not familiar with. So imagine the complexity of the task facing the ordinary teacher, the high risk of dropout of children who cannot follow what is being taught. So we need extended time for language and an enriched curriculum. And similarly, we argue for more time on mathematics. Children have forgotten the concepts, not just the procedures. Let us focus on key concepts and mathematical reasoning and prioritize relevant content for each stage. Next slide. So naturally, such a reorganization of the curriculum is required in order to actually simplify and enrich, and we need extension of the instructional time. Our publication therefore talks about, really providing teachers guidance not detailed instructions, but guidance on what to do, for instance, when you have extended time for literacy, the additional learning materials that are required. We need to prepare formative assessment tools, and we need to help teachers with regular support, possibly extending instructional time, maybe on weekends, vacations, hire more teachers or teacher aides. But as Shantaji said, really the responsibility is the government's. They need to provide additional financial resources, provide the technical guidance. They need to organize and coordinate and manage this massive disaster recovery effort, just as you would do if there were a flood, if there were an earthquake. Children have suffered worse than that. So school reopening should not mean business as usual. Let me conclude with a metaphor, leaving an image with you. Tens of millions of Indian children, I would say the majority of the 250 million children who are currently in grade 1 to grade 12, they are stranded on the other side of a yawning chasm. The bridge to cross this abyss is too steep and it's flimsy and it is being pulled up too fast. Many of our children risk falling and many of them won't even get on the bridge if we don't act immediately. We need a stronger bridge, and every one of those 250 million children needs to cross over. Socio-emotional skills provides the foot grips, and the language and mathematics competencies are the guardrails that will help them cross. They need the support of teachers and schools, the government, and the entire society every step of the way. And we'd be happy to answer more questions about this at the end of this conference. Thank you very much, Manisha. Over to you.